Welcome back to Welsh Bee Sports, and joining me for this video as we reflect on yesterday's win over Salford City, a thrilling win by Wrexham. He's back by very popular demand, Shaun Driver from the Red Horde. How's it going, Shaun?
Well, I'm having a good one. You start the morning off like you did yesterday morning. Well, for us anyway, yesterday morning it was a good day, and then had the women do their thing, and then the draw. It's just been a full-on Wrexham weekend, so no complaints for me.
It has been another cracking game at the racecourse, another comeback, a late winner. Why did they do it to us?
I don't buy some defibrillators and put them into the race course, because it's just the cardiac kids with what's happening over there. It's almost a little bit too much. It was certainly excitable with us watching the watch party. That's for sure.
Yeah, it is a health risk now, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know
why a health warning in these games, because they just don't stop.
Well, and
the amount of goals. They're conceding and scoring. It's exciting, and you kind of knew what was coming. They went behind, I think, in a strange way. They were never really dominated, and it was strange to be losing 2-0. But you kind of knew what was coming in the second half.
Well, we were in it all the way through. Again, Parky does that early press for the first 10, 15 minutes of the game, right? And he fired that up. But we went, what was it, 20, 21 minutes without a shot? And then the very first real chance we get, Mullen blasts it into outer space, and you're kind of going, "Uh-oh, is this going to be one of those games?" And then I had that feeling all the way through until the 87th, 88th minute, right? Because every chance we had, it was just like a foot too far behind, 3 feet too far on a cross, and it was like, can somebody just put everything together? And then all of a sudden, it all went magical for like a minute and a half, and that was all we needed. So yeah, it was crazy.
But as we've discussed, it was a feisty, fiery first half. They've come there with a game plan, I think, to be a bit naughty, to be disruptors, because as we saw, Mullen wrestled to the ground by the former Wrexham player Tilt.
Yep.
And there was a few moments as well throughout the game where they were quite physical, and Tilt and Palmer had a very good sort of battle, certainly in that first half. Two very big physical guys.
Yep.
What do you think about that?
Well, just a lot of needling each other all the way through. Nothing big, no major incidents, but it was one of those things where after there was consistent sort of little nings at each other. You had the Mullen thing, which I know that on the broadcast, Mark was talking about a potential red card. I saw it as a yellow. The flipping didn't bother me, but the initial tackle, there was no reason to essentially run over Mullen, like arms first, and pull him down. And then I had another yellow later on the game, second half. Jones did a little spin. No, it would have been first half, I guess, because it was shooting so to the right on the screen. And Jones beat him, and he just had his legs swept out from under him. And I was like, that's got to be a yellow card there, and nothing. And so it was just those little plays like that. You get the call for simulation. You're getting time wasting in like the first half. And it was just chintzy little stuff all through the game, which I guess made it a little bit more magical at the end, but also a little bit more frustrating. Always wondering if the football gods were going to frown on us that one the whole time, because it kind of felt that way.
And did you see Matty Lund when he went down with his clutching his leg?
No, I didn't see that one.
Claiming that he'd been badly injured.
Oh,
he was clearly up to something there, because he soon recovered.
I heard Mark talking about it, but that was off camera for us. There were two things that I wish I would have seen. One of those was that one, and the other one was the McLean steal that led to the second goal, which I was able to find afterwards. But that happened so fast. We were left in replay land, and all of a sudden Mark's getting excited, and we're still looking at the first goal. And it was basically like it came to right at the end. And I was like, whoa, we're about to score. And then it went in. So I missed the build up to that play as well as the Lund thing, because I remember hearing about it, but I couldn't see it on the screen.
Yeah, Matty Lund, he's the guy who now, I've watched the highlights, and I thought he scored the second goal. He clearly didn't. He's a bit of a shit, this guy, I think. He's tried to pull a con with his injury, and he claimed a goal that wasn't his. I thought it deflected off Smith in the end, but at the stadium, I saw him shoot a goal, and he celebrated as if he's won the World Cup.
And
it wasn't his goal. He's claiming a goal that's not his.
Chintzy. That's
What
what
a
we
shit.
call it here. Yeah, Chintzy. No, so I missed that one as well as to who got that one, whether it was Kemp or otherwise. Not much you can do. It was weird. The first goal for both teams was sort of the same thing. Half the team are going to end up saying defenders in the wrong position and should have done better, right? Because Lee, that ball landing on his head and missing two defenders, they probably should have done better there. The same with Hayden on the positionally he was there, but he got beat sort of in the 11th hour. Half the people I think would be like, the defender's got to do a better job, but half of the people are going to say, man, Lee or Kemp or whoever ended up scoring the goal. They would end up saying that was just a really good play by the offensive player finding a way to get around it. So almost near identical goals, which I found intriguing as far as what happened there. It was I don't know, a completely crazy afternoon, morning, and I was spent.
It's standard now. It's standard practice for Wrexham, and a bold move by Parkinson, starting with the youngster Aaron James.
Yes,
18 years old. I thought he did very well, all things considered.
I think he's got the skill set. I think he played well. I think the only area, and I attribute it to just being overexcited. First game, debut start. He's had, two run-ins, one with in the EFL Trophy 4th round back in January, and then the one on Tuesday were his only other games. So overexcited debut start. In the final third, the ball was getting pushed like 5 feet, 10 feet too far on his crosses, right? Or if he decided, I'm not going to cross it, I'm going to end up trying to push it to the front of the box. He was 5 degrees too far to the right and pushing the line and getting intercepted. He was that close to making the perfect play like half a dozen times. But I think it was just overexcited. He was reading the play. He was there. He was physically able to pull off the moves he wanted to do to affect it. It was just the very last sort of push. Too much energy, too much excitement, too much adrenaline. And I kept saying there's too much mustard on it every single time he pushed it, but he looked good. I don't know what you do with him now. Barnett's coming back. Ford's still there. He looked good. I mean, I guess it's a good problem to have. Make it a little bit more challenging on Parky to figure out what the hell he's going to do.
Yeah, but I think now he's playing him. I think he has to stick with him, even if it's just substitution, coming on every now and again. It'd be a mistake just to push him to one side again and not build on this. Now he's getting game time. Now he's made his full debut in the league in quite a difficult game.
Yes, add him to the rotation.
Stick with him and allow him to grow and get more experience, because I think there's a lot of talent there. It'd be a shame just to shove him to the side and leave him, let him continue to get experience.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, it'll be interesting to see where he's at in after 6 games. And we've had a real chance to say, like, was it adrenaline that ended up being that little issue, or is he just he's just capable in the back 2/3, and on the front third, he's just got a little bit more work to do. But no, he looked good, looked solid the whole way through.
And someone else who looked solid, you called it last week. I was very impressed with him, O'Connor. Playing in a position that I would never put him in if I was given the chance. I think that by the laws of nature, by the laws of the game, he should not be playing there.
Well, you take so much away from his game. You take so much away from his game, right? As a midfielder, he's creative. His crosses, that's his strength. Like, if you were to say what's the best part about O'Connor's game, I would end up saying it's his crosses and his ability to be a threat in the box. And now you're taking that away because you're putting him all the way back on the left side of the back line. But what it's done is we were having trouble getting run at. And how many times did he, in the last couple of games, just stop an attacker cold on a ground duel? Like at 4 or 5, half dozen times. It felt like every time somebody ran at him, he had the answer. And I was like, God, this was a stroke of genius by Parky to slide him in there. Not his strongest position. But he's probably the best option we've got as a team, and he's good given the circumstances of what we've got as a roster. So I think you got us. You pencil him in every week going forward.
You would think so. Is it just a short-term option in the place of Boyle? Boyle would be there normally, you would think.
I would think. I don't know what's going on. Like, as I said, it's kind of, we were talking a little bit offline with Boyle and Tozer and Luke Young. Don't know what their health status is or if they were bumped back. That's just, I'm not in the know. But if it's a health thing, to me, it depends on what type of player, what type of team we're up against. If we're going to be facing, say, Mansfield Town that likes to work from the wings a little bit more, rather than somebody like Stockport who's going to run direct, you've got to put O'Connor out there if you've got Barry and Stockport and people running at us. Crawley, it's got to be O'Connor. If you're looking for a team for aerial, now we have options. We have a way to build our back line based on the style that's going to be coming at us. And I like that. But I think he's got to be the consideration for everybody who's going to come direct.
I think going back to Tozer, he's clearly been rested. It's been mentioned. He's played a lot of games. And I think he's definitely being rested, and I can't see him getting back. I think this could be difficult for him to get back into the side if things go well for Wrexham. If we keep winning, we keep doing relatively well. He's made some mistakes. Well, quite a few. The mistake at Stockport. There was one at Swindon, I believe it was. There's some that didn't result in goals, but resulted in chances for our opposition. He's burnt out, I think, and I think it might be difficult for him to get back in.
I'm of the opinion that Tozer's the best option we've got there. Ewan O'Connell doesn't do it for me. His ability or lack of to move the ball forward effectively, just his long balls are just always off. Positionally he can get caught out. I don't know. If I look at the center backs that we've got, I know a lot of people like Tunnicliffe. He's 30. If Max is ready to step in, and I don't know if you can put him in the center of the line, and that's just too much pressure for League Two. But to me, above anybody else, to me, it's Tozer, and then it's actually going to end up probably being Max would be the second guy I'd end up having to look at. I don't know. I think he has to come in because he just offers too much, and not just with the offensive throws, because, well, George gets it pretty close, eh? Evans was doing those throws. But I'm not confident enough in O'Connell with his positional play. He's thrown me off a couple of times and is advancing the ball. So,
well, I thought he was steady yesterday. I thought he had a good game.
It was just,
you look at it, again, the defensive sort of setup again. Is it a problem having too many options? Obviously, it's nice to have that when you have injuries, but is it still trying to find that consistent back three, if you like, or centre three? Do you think it would be Boyle, Tozer, Hayden? But last season, towards the end, Tunnicliffe, he proved his worth. He was hard as nails in multiple games.
Absolutely.
He was a rock. And he's kind of, he's struggling to get in the team now. When you think at one point he'd be starting every week. So there's so many options there. And is it a problem to find the best team?
Yeah, and I think the formation ends up answering that. And we ran into something we hadn't seen this season when Parkey said, we're going to go for it. And he subs in Dalby and Fletcher. And so now we've got three strikers going up front. And I went, well, maybe a 4-3-3 is an option here instead of running the wing backs and giving up those corners and soft spots in the corners on our own back line. Maybe we end up going a 4-3-3. But then I started looking at the midfield, and we talked about this last weekend, is my word, the midfield is just gob full of capable talent. Like if you're going a 4-3-3, who the hell are you keeping out of the lineup? McLean? Mendy? I don't know what you do in the circumstances. Evans, Young, Lee's got to go. So I don't know what the option is. I guess it's a good place to be in that we're able to maybe start tailoring our game based on our strengths of our players. And that's a nice thing to have for personnel.
Well, Jones has just signed a new contract.
Yes.
And he started the last few games.
Yeah.
He's a steady player. He's Mr. Reliable, a bit like Luke Young. I'm not sure what's happening with Luke Young. But he's not really a flamboyant player in the sense of Davis can be.
Davis came out of nowhere to me.
They're steady, they're reliable.
Yeah, I know.
They don't have they're consistent, but do they have that creativity and that high ceiling that you think that maybe O'Connor has and George Evans should have? But he's not quite doing it for me at the moment.
Well, I think he's played
came
a
alive
different role.
Late on. Yesterday he came alive once we went behind 2-0. I didn't see much of him before then. And then certainly in the second half, he started to get into it more and make things happen.
He's playing a different role. Yeah, he's playing a different role. I think he's filling in cover for the back line. And so he's coming back with our wing backs running up. And so he's not going to show up on the statistics, or you're not going to call his name with an amazing cross. It's just not what he's done. he's has more quality, I think, than Jones and Young. But you never hear his name, and Young's always going to be taking the set pieces, either him or O'Connor if he's on the pitch. But I'm with you as far as Jones and Young go. Is the best games they have are the games where you needed to have somebody steady to settle down the midfield or to just control ball and be a rock, and that's what they do. Nothing flashy, nothing amazing, but just settle it down. I don't know. We have so many people rolling right now, which if you would have told me a month ago that this was going to be the situation, when I think we were a little bit desperate and grasping to find somebody who could fill certain spots, we're in a great position now, because I really think that there are options everywhere.
And obviously Davis has had a good week, Jordan Davis, and we saw the strength of the squad at Crewe. And it's very hard when someone has a good game, you expect them to start immediately. They sort of become the flavour of the month.
Yep.
And you want them to start straight. You want them to be starting straight away and, capitalising on the good form. But there's so many options. It's not always possible to do that. But Tuesday night against Crewe was just more validation of how strong this squad is.
Yeah, and the thing I liked about Davis, I don't know if you heard the interview he did after the game, but as far as him calling to Mullen to say, run to post, and so they're in there now chirping away, and he comes in. I don't know how many minutes he's had, not very many. What is it? He's got 75 minutes only in the league so far, in league games so far. And he's out there with Mullen being Mullen and saying, giving directions and following up. And Mullen knew, because he could have reached back and pulled that ball, but he knew that he had Davis off of his off shoulder, and he trusted him enough to take it. And I thought, man, that's a calling card for Davis, is when you have the support of your top striker to lay off of a ball, to let it go through the box to get to him. And it was planned. And Davis was the one who said, go run to post and take it. I was like, man, we're on fire, because we got lots of talent and they're working together. There was the one dispute where Palmer didn't give it over to Mullen on that one break, and he got an earful. But other than that, there's no superstar mentality, chip on the shoulder garbage with the team. They just work together. And Davis is a perfect example of somebody who's just slid right in.
And we talked last week about the striking options. You think the Fletcher should be starting? He should be on he's the right partner for Mullen. He's come on yesterday, scored another goal. Is that the best way to use him as an impact player like that?
I guess the question is how's his fitness at whatever he's 36? If the guy can run for 75 minutes, you've got to put him out there for it. He's just got too much creativity, and you saw that interaction in that role. He sees in spots with both feet off to Dalby on the one side to come back over, the touches that they had on the right side that then ended up coming back to him to finish the goal. And even before that, he had the opportunities into the legs. There's too much talent and too much pressure that if he can go for 75 minutes, you have to put him in, I think. And that's no disrespect for Palmer. He's just a next level up. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know if the fitness isn't there, then this is the perfect role for him. And we'll just celebrate having the 20 minutes that we get of him in the end of every game and know that we're always in it, because he'll come in and cause havoc.
Parky said in the interview yesterday that he had a problem with his knee, and obviously didn't have a pre-season. So I think he is lacking the match fitness, the sharpness, and he's obviously got an injury. But, the talent is there. He's an extraordinary player. Played in the Premier League from several clubs. And it's a good option to have off the bench. And the substitutions was made right at the right time. I think 63 minutes, 64 minutes, didn't leave it too late. And until then, I thought we were struggling. We were 2-0, 2-1 down. You think we'd be starting to control the game, but it was a bit slow until then. Even Okonkwo wasn't releasing the ball fast enough. He wasn't distributing it fast enough.
And getting it stuck to his glove as well. I've been critical of Parky for late substitutions when we've needed to have something happen. And so just change it up. You might not be unhappy with the players, but just the game calls for something to occur, and substitutions being used there. I thought it was a bold move, and one I didn't expect from Parky to end up saying, let's bring in two strikers and let's bring in them in early. I thought that we were okay as far as getting chances. I mean, we had lots of them. It just, we weren't capitalizing on any of them. And so that was the frustrating part, and why I thought the football gods were going to be smiling against us. But no, they were just setting up for a mass heart attack event.
But there was a chance for Salford early in the second half.
Early and late. Yeah. I don't know how he missed that one.
Yeah, that should have been 3-1.
Yep.
And maybe we'd still come back. We've done it before against Swindon. It's not, we can come back from anything these days. There's no mountain too high at the moment, but that would have been difficult.
Yeah, no explanation for that one. And I don't know. I wanted to talk about the criticism we talked about the back line and just go back to it. Hayden, he blew it on that second goal. And I don't understand the logic, because you have James on that side. Okay, you're the veteran. You're out there. You want to make sure you're back. You maybe have to add a little bit of protection for the new guy who's making his debut start. Like, be smart, be responsible, do the simple things. But instead, he charges up the midfield like a banshee and misses the ball, misses the tackle. And as soon as that happened, away Salford came, and out of nowhere, they're running at us. Ewan tries to pick him up. O'Connell, and I can't remember who it was that came over that fed the ball over, and tries to pick him up. But that's the shot on goal that ended up being the rebound that went in. And that was all 100% entirely because Hayden, with James already up there was nobody behind him, gave up the entire left side wide open to two guys just screaming down. And so I was really disappointed with that. But Hayden also played exceptionally well, other than that one big slip up that I.
Yeah, he does like to get forward with the ball, though. He does like to bring the ball out. You know, so he does look to get over the halfway line quite often. And I think James did sort of take the brunt of that, to be fair, even though
that one wasn't his fault. That wasn't his. He was in the right position. He's still up on the right flank, and all of a sudden, you're not expecting one of the right center, like the center, the right back, to run all the way up and through you. And now we've got both the right wing back and our right back sitting up on the other side of the midfield. It's too much risk.
It kind of came from nowhere, and it was very, very fast. It came from nowhere, kind of an attack that was out the blue. An opportunity that could have been prevented. And I think James did get most of the brunt because of the side of the pitch it was on.
Situational awareness. If it's the 70th, 80th minute and we're down by a goal and you need to put the pressure on and there's an opportunity to run for that, and then you can hope scramble getting back, great. But in the first half of a game that you're already down 1-0, I would have appreciated a little bit more control. Having said that, I don't play the game, and I'm really good with the controllers on the PS5. But he saw something that obviously wasn't there. That one irked me a little bit, and it was probably, other than the referee and some of the calls, the only thing that irked me. The rest was just blaming the football gods.
I think there is a danger if you keep changing the team too much. People will lose that understanding. Obviously, it was his full debut. I mean, he won't have that relationship with Hayden. And these players like O'Connell, he hasn't played that often. And when you think Boyle's been in there, Tozer has been starting most of the games until recently. You lack that understanding. What Wrexham had last year when they found their perfect setup, the final 10 games, I think, you have that understanding and you build that trust and that knowledge of each other's game. At the moment, this team does seem to be changing quite a lot through suspensions, injuries, people being rested. The options are there, but you do have a risk of disrupting. Sort of the consistency of the formation.
And I appreciate the opportunity for consistency. Talent, I think, can to a certain degree get you through, and we've got it. And so we're a little bit spoiled there with the resources and the opportunity to play them. It takes away from. Say, for example, Crawley's been together for a while. I believe there's been a couple that have been together their core for a couple of seasons. They're not as talented maybe, but they play together well. It would be nice to get that bond. But if you're going to do that, we're going to have to really make some tough decisions on who we're going to see and who we're not going to see. I mean, O'Connell, just to answer the question to your statement, he went 6 weeks, 6 league games anyway, from match day 6 to match day 12. Without any minutes, and so to get called in, you can get rusty. That's a whole month and a bit away, and he hasn't been. So that's a compliment to him for sure.
Okonkwo made a very good save right at the end. I was certain that was going in. That was a beautiful save.
And as good as the save was, his ability to know how close he was to the line and make sure that he was immediately pushing himself forward with those long arms that he's got. Look, he's solid. The only part about the game that I'd like to work on for him is similar to O'Connell. It's just that long ball forward. He tends to. There were a couple that we had like 5 jerseys on the right side, and he pumped it over to the middle. They just left the middle, and there were only 3 white jerseys there. And I was like, I don't get, like, that couldn't have been intentional. And so he's put a couple out on the full. So, you know, other than working on that, the kid's got some skill. Holy cow! And he put it on display, making that save for sure.
Yeah, his distribution at times yesterday wasn't as fast as it could have been. Certainly when we were behind. On looking for the urgency, and that was always a danger. Wasn't until about 65 minutes that I think we really started to get on top in that second half. It was a bit slow to begin with in the second half, and you're looking for a response, really. And it could have been a lot faster, more urgency, quicker football. And like his distribution at times, Okonkwo, he was indecisive where to go, and he was a bit slow distributing the ball.
Yeah, but if that's the negative that you've got, is that your goalkeeper is a little slow in advancing it, or sometimes questionable as to where he's advancing it and how, I think you're in a good place, because if you're not complaining about the ball going to the back of the net, which is priority number 1. Kid can stop the ball, so he's got that to work on a little bit. But man, he's made some whopper of a saves, and that one fall into his left there and getting low enough to save that was impressive.
But he did get better once Wrexham got better. Once Wrexham upped the tempo, and you could see Salford. They'd lost everything. They were falling. They were unraveling. The last 20 minutes, they couldn't string a pass together. They couldn't retain the ball. It was just one way. You could see what was coming. You could see it coming.
It was a snowball turning into an avalanche. And it happened over time, right? Like at the start of the game, we weren't doing anything, and then all of a sudden, and what I was impressed about before, and I don't know if it's indicative of how good our midfield played, or whether it's just how bad Salford's midfield is, but we nicked so much possession yesterday. I haven't looked at the stats, but it just seemed like every single dual opportunity in the midfield, they might have played it once or twice, but then it fell to us. And so positionally, or whether good play or otherwise, we stole a lot of play. Hayden, to give him a compliment, the second goal the second goal that we had, that was a Salford throw in that Hayden got on there on the boot and lifted it off to Dalby. It's just stuck his long leg out there out of nowhere and got it ahead to Dalby, who played it nice, Fletcher, and away they went and they did their thing. And so just nicked lots of possession, and fortunate that we did. And I think as the game went on, you got the odd steal to more steals to finally got to the point where they were just trying to get rid of the ball because they knew they couldn't do a bloody thing with it getting through the midfield. And that's a credit to, I guess, at least partially to us. Maybe it's thankful to, they didn't start Watson. Number 17 is that the one that he's their top midfielder statistically. I looked at the analytics and I went, holy crap. Like he's miles better analytically than anybody on our team. And when you're looking at Jones and Lee and you're looking at defensive stats and you've got somebody who's crushing it, I went, what the hell's up with this guy? And he didn't come in until the 70th, 75th minute, and he didn't really show up. So we may have been fortunate there because we missed out on probably what I would consider, other than Smith, number 7 is Walton or Watson. We may have lucked out that they didn't play their best player, but we'll take it.
It's a win that puts Wrexham 5th now. Mm-hmm. I think, is it 3 points off the top?
Yep, we're 3 points behind Stockport, 2 behind Notts, and then we're in a 3-way tie with Mansfield and Crewe. So it's, as we said, it's very tight up there. We talked last week. It's starting to take shape, but not settling. We thought Stockport. Well, I think Stockport are the team to beat. Yeah, I think they're gonna be in the top 2. I think. To me, there's 4. They've been strong for a few seasons. We thought Notts County were going to start to run away with it. They've suffered a couple of setbacks. That was a bit of a shock for me, their defeat to Mansfield. Yeah, strength of schedule. I mean, Notts has had a lighter schedule than the others, but I wasn't expecting a 4-1 drubbing at home. And to be fair, their backline looked garbage. They've obviously got the offensive stuff. Bostock flopping on the ground and then giving it up and it turning into a goal was absolutely beautiful, because I hate flopping. All right, watch hockey. You're not allowed to flop, and I get it that simulation, all that sort of stuff draws penalties. But him flopping and then the immediate karma of watching the ball go into the back of the net was awesome. That was great. But their back line, they struggled with 2 crosses and 2 balls from the side that they just couldn't deal with. They looked bad in the back line. That's no other way to put it. So for me, I've got 4 teams sort of battling at the top for those top 3 automatic positions. Stockport's there, Mansfield there, still have Knots there, and I have us there. And that's, we've Drew Crew, who's ahead of us. Swindon Town has a game behind us, our game in hand, and they're just 1 point behind us. Gillingham is the most Jekyll and Hyde team ever. Like, they've got 7 wins, 1 draw, 5 losses. That just can't be maintained. And I don't know whether they're either going to hit the roller coaster in the lottery or they're going to fall down. And then the big question for me is, since Hughes got fired, what's Bradford City going to do? And I guess we're going to find out on Saturday. That's going to be a tough game because they're playing lights out right now.
They've won the last 2, haven't they?
Yeah.
Which tends to happen. Once the manager is sacked, that team usually stages a bit of a revival. We see it time and time again.
Bad luck and bad timing that we've got them on the league game on a Saturday with them flying high right now. They've got talent there. I don't know if you can blame Hughes for it. I don't know if it's just the players not able to gel, but on paper they look good and they've got the money.
They're a very big club, but they made the playoffs last year.
Yeah. Yes.
So a couple of strong teams. Salford did as well. I wasn't that impressed with them. On paper, they're a team you expect to be up there, but I wasn't impressed with them.
So they've got 3 guys. They've got Watson and Smith, their leading scorer, and number 24 Bolton, who's been getting the assists in their setup. Man, they are dealing with an injury, and I can't remember. Is it Vassell was out, which is why they had the 2 Jamaican center backs. But they didn't. I didn't feel as though they were carrying the weight of things, and their midfield to me really struggled. So. We'll see. It's a fun time watching the stats and the standings and everything rolling through, and then now you see the schedule that's coming for us. We've got an opportunity to make some hay here.
I think that's what we'll need, a run of 4 or 5 wins in a row, because nobody's really putting that together. How many teams have been at the top now? Like I said, Gillingham were looking really good first 5 games or so. They've dropped.
Yep.
MK Dons are going up and down. They're not maintaining any consistency. AFC Wimbledon are a strong team.
They've now fallen off.
Kicking on.
Yeah.
No one's really running away with it.
Stockport, they're at least 5, 6, 7 in a row, 8 in a row.
Yeah. After the bad start.
Yes. Wimbledon, they beat Wimbledon Dons, us, Accrington Stanley, FGR, Doncaster, Harrogate. They're on a run. So to me,
that makes me think that they are the team to beat, I think.
Unless the January window comes and somebody grabs Barry, which I've kind of going like this. That'd be Aston Villa saying he's got to go up to the championship. He's lighting up League 2 too much and we want him to develop, which I'm sure Stockport's going to shut off their Twitter so that they don't end up showing any more of his highlights. I
think they're strong enough all round, to be fair.
Could be.
I think they'll be up there.
Yeah, for sure.
And before we go, just to mention on the FA Cup draw, I mean, what a crap draw.
It doesn't.
The magic of the FA Cup.
It doesn't.
Give me a favour.
Doesn't get any worse than that, does it? No.
At least that's the world on fire, does it?
And it's, you know what? Give credit to Mansfield, and they're a solid club, and that's why you don't like it. Is for 2 reasons. In the first 2 rounds, for me anyway, you always want the home game. Because you're likely going to end up drawing somebody from a lower league or your own league. The odds are that's what you're going to do. So let's get through the first 2 rounds and have some home games and build some magic. And if you're not going to do that, at least have a day out, right? We were talking before the game of like Blackpool or Bolton or Derby County or somebody. If that would have been a away one, that would have been better than an away game to Mansfield, a solid team. It's going to be defensive. So what? Are we 0-0 or 1-1 and we come back to Wrexham for the replay and then go to penalty kicks and then see what ends up happening? It is interesting. Mansfield is in the round of 16 in the EFL Cup, and they've got Port Vale on the Tuesday before they play us. So we should have more legs, and I'm curious to see how they juggle it. But Just a bad draw.
Yeah, I'm sure I will. Yeah, I think they'll be going. I think they'll be resting players there, but I guess they're looking a strong team.
Yes,
they're looking a very, very strong team. But it's not the tie I wanted, as you said. When there's teams like Bolton there, and I think Charlton as well, Leyton Orient, there's some big old traditional British clubs there. And if you played 2 weeks ago, it's a 50-50 game. It's a tricky game. The theory is the home side is usually the favourite. I'm not sure if that applies here, but it's a very, very difficult game. If you're going to go out against a much bigger club, and not a club you played 2 weeks ago. It's the most inspiring of draws. To be fair, especially
there were 3 teams in Tier 8, right? Well, or 2 and 1 more potentially, depending on what happens on the replay. I would love to have had that would have been fun too. Even away, that would have been fun. You know what? It's the FA Cup. I'm going to be glued to the screen. For me, I know there's a lot of people who say focus on the league, focus on the league. Not with the FA Cup. You can focus on the league and you can bow out of the EFL Cup. You can light the trophy on fire for all I care. But the FA, you get stuck in and you put your best squad out and you give it a run from game 1 all the way through to the end until you're done. So I'm hoping that that's what we do. And you know what? So we get to see Mansfield again and test them. And if we end up losing, maybe we learn something for near the end of the season. Because man, we're going to have to figure out the schedule earlier before. I didn't look at our schedule. I don't know if you have for the end of the season. It's tough. So we're going to have to get
last game or one of them.
Stockport's the last game, and then Crewe before that, and then we've got a span there where we've got Mansfield Town is 6 before that. So we go through Grimsby Town and Mansfield, then we kind of get Donny, Colchester, Forest Green, okay, and then Crewe and Stockport. So I want to get answers before we end up dealing with Crewe and Stockport in the last 2 games of the year.
Yeah, but going back to it was such a great cup run last year, and Wrexham are famous for their cup runs.
Yeah,
last year was just brilliant, and it'd be good, to have another one.
Get us Wrexham
safe in the league. It would be nice to get back-to-back promotions, but you want a cup run. The EFL Cup, the Papa Johns.
Yeah, and we got a dead rubber coming up with the Port Vale game because it doesn't matter to either team. We're both already in. So we know we're going to play in that one. So throw out every young kid we've got. I mean, hell, I'll fly over and you can dress me up and throw me out there. I don't care.
It's so important for me. It's a shame to go out of the League Cup the way we did. Yeah. But you've got to have a cup run. Yeah. But also, if you're going to have a cup run, you want to be a giant killer. You want the big clubs. You want the big ties. And hopefully we'll get them. It's a tricky game. Hopefully we'll come through it.
Well, and you saw Welcome to Wrexham when they were talking about the cup run from last year. And what was Ryan talking about when they hit 3rd round proper, 4th round proper, is they were like, we can actually draw Premier League teams. And it got him excited. And that is the rush of it. Is can you imagine pulling a Man U away with Wrexham in the 3rd, 4th round like that? It boggles my mind that it can happen as a North American.
They've done it before, many years ago. They've done it before.
Yeah, and so let's. You want to get the easy one. Anyway, we'll see what happens with Mansfield.
Was it 95? Yeah. So
it's a 50-50 game or games. I really feel like it's probably going to come back to Wrexham. A 0-0, a 1-1 draw. We'll see what happens.
It all depends if he goes for it. It all depends the attitude. He might not want to be disrupted by a cup run. Yeah. He might think getting promoted to League One is a far bigger prize.
Yeah.
So we'll see how committed he is and how seriously he takes it.
Yep.
But we'll have to wait. Like I said, no game in the week. Bradford next weekend. And
the big question for me is, what do we do with Elliot Lee? Because he's getting close to 19 games and he's got that suspension coming if he picks up his next yellow. And so
he's scoring a lot of goals there.
So do you rest him? One of 2 things is either going to happen. He's either going to take his yellow against Bradford. Or you rest him for that the Sutton United game, and keep him.
I think you just play him until you can't.
Well, what happens if he picks up that yellow? Then you've got Lee suspended for Notts County.
I think you just got to go for it. I think you just got to go.
You got bigger cojones than me then, Carl.
I think at times he didn't have as much influence as he can do. I mean, brilliant goal, I thought, the way he snuck in through it all, but I think he wasn't as influential as he usually is. But I just think you just play him.
Yeah, you got
I
bigger
think-
cojones than me, Carl.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely.
I think you just got to go for it, take each game as it comes, and just get the points on the board as quick as you can. Play your best team in the moment when you can, and just like go for it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be object to an 85th minute cheeky pull down and picking up a yellow for something to be like,
get it
all
out
right,
the way.
we see
Get it
what
out
happens.
the way.
Yeah, but.